That's what she said. Not in anger, not in grief, but with this quiet venom, like she'd been waiting years to say it. We were in the attic, surrounded by dust-covered boxes and the perfume of mothballs. I was still holding the old birthday box I found wedged behind the oak dresser, wrapped in floral paper, yellowed at the edges, with a tag in Mom's handwriting. For my brave girl, do not open until I'm gone. I hadn't even peeled the tape yet, and that's when she snapped. My twin sister, same blood, same face, or so I thought. She stepped closer, her voice cold and careful. You're just a charity case, Ava. A mistake she pitied. That box was never meant for you. I didn't reply. Because in that moment, I wasn't sure what anything meant anymore. We grew up in a house that always smelled like lemon oil and old books. Our mother, Elaine, was a literature teacher who quoted Sylvia Plath while making scrambled eggs. Our father, well, he left when we were 7. I barely remember him. Just the sound of his boots and the slam of the screen door. It was just the 3 of us after that. Mom, me, and Isla. Isla and I were twins, but not the identical kind. She had our mother's dark hair and dramatic cheekbones. I had lighter features, softer, rounder, forgettable. But no one ever pointed that out. Not directly. Still, the difference was always there. She was the passionate one, always on stage, always loud, always magnetic. I was the observer, the noticer, the one who sat in the school library during lunch because the cafeteria made me anxious. And even though we were raised side by side, the divide between us widened every year, subtly, like a hairline crack in glass that only shows when the light hits it just right. Isla got the lead roles in school plays. I got asked if I was adopted more times than I could count. I remember once, in 10th grade, I heard her laughing behind the gym with her friends. She said something like, Ava's basically like our family's rescue dog, sweet, grateful, quiet. They all laughed. And even though she said she was joking, that one sentence stuck to my ribs for years. Still, I never said anything. Not when she stole my diary and read it to her friends. Not when she took the cash our mom left for my school trip and used it to buy concert tickets. Not even when she started dating Jacob, a boy who used to sit next to me in biology and draw flowers. In the corner of my notebook. I stayed silent. I played small. I thought maybe love worked like karma. If you keep being kind, eventually someone will see it and repay you in something warm and true. Mom tried to love us equally. I think she did. She'd always say, 2 different seeds in the same soil, bloom in different ways. But I noticed how often she defended Isla, how easily she overlooked her cruelty and excused her storms as artistic temperament. And I became a teacher, just like Mom. Maybe because it was the only place. I felt valid, like someone worth listening to. But even as an adult, returning to that house after Mom's funeral, I felt 12 again. The carpet felt thinner, the silence heavier. And Isla, older now, sharper, looked at me not like a sister, but like someone she had to tolerate for one more weekend until I found the box. The one Mom had hidden away in the attic. The one with my name on it. And suddenly, everything I thought I understood about us began to feel like a lie waiting to unwrap itself. It was supposed to be a routine cleanup. One final sweep of Mom's attic before the house went up for probate. Isla had left me alone that morning, saying she was too drained to deal with cobwebs and cardboard. Typical. She liked to skip the parts of grief that didn't involve applause. So I climbed the creaking pull-down ladder alone, armed with a flashlight and a mug of coffee that had long gone cold. The attic was as I remembered it. Dust in the air like snowfall, old trunks marked Christmas, stacks of yellowed National Geographics, a moth-eaten love seat under the far window. I wasn't looking for anything special, just closure maybe. And then I found the box. It was wedged between two old suitcases, half swallowed by shadow. Wrapped in faded floral paper with a ribbon that had turned brittle. It wasn't labeled to Ava, not exactly. It said, "For my brave girl, do not open until I'm gone." The handwriting was unmistakable, Mom's sharp slanted script. I ran my fingers over the ink, and my stomach flipped. Brave girl? That had always been her nickname for me, hadn't it? She used to whisper it on the nights I cried without knowing why, but the doubt slithered in, uninvited. Was this meant for Isla? No. Isla had always been her artist, her storm, her light. Never brave, never gentle. I sat on the attic floor and just stared at it. The ribbon, the tape, the weight of it all. And I remembered something. A night, maybe a year ago, Mom had come into my classroom unannounced. She sat at the back while I taught a lesson on poetry and metaphor. Afterward, she hugged me tighter than usual and said, "One day, when I'm not here to say it, you'll know how much I saw in you." At the time, I thought she meant something sweet. Now, I wasn't so sure. I brought the box downstairs, hands trembling. Set it on the kitchen table like it might detonate. I didn't open it. Not right away. Because something about it felt final. Like opening it would change the shape of our family forever, and part of me still wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, we were okay underneath the cracks. But then Isla came in. Hair perfectly tousled. Eyes narrowed the second she saw the box. She didn't ask what it was. She just froze. Lips parted, like someone had thrown a switch in her memory. Then she said it. Her voice flat, like the end of a sentence. "You think you deserve a share?" I blinked. "What are you talking about?" She pointed to the box like it was cursed. "That wasn't for you. It was hers. Mom meant it for me. You..." Her lip curled. "You were always just a charity case, Ava. You don't get to claim the scraps now." And suddenly, the box wasn't just a mystery. It was a mirror, reflecting something neither of us had ever said out loud. Yet, I used to think being quiet was a virtue, that staying small, making peace, and avoiding confrontation were signs of goodness. But maybe they were just habits I learned from survival. Growing up with Isla meant learning to navigate chaos. She was the fire, and I was the floorboards. Always nearby, always absorbing the heat. Mom loved her loudly, singing her praises at PTA meetings, displaying her crayon drawings like gallery pieces. Every tantrum was just passion. Every insult was just a joke. She'd barge into my room, take my things, scream when I said no, then cry until Mom hugged her, told her it was okay. I was taught not to react, to be the one who understood. I remember one time, I was 9, Isla had broken Mom's antique perfume bottle and blamed me. I got grounded for a week. I didn't say a word. That night, Mom left a plate of cookies outside my room. Didn't knock, didn't say sorry, just cookies. And that was the pattern. Punishment, followed by silence, wrapped in sweetness. No acknowledgement, no apologies, just gestures. It teaches you something. That kind of love. It teaches you to accept crumbs and call it a feast. We shared a birthday, Isla and I, but it never felt shared. One year, Mom threw her a surprise party. Just her. Said I wouldn't like the noise. She wasn't wrong, but still. When I turned 16, I got a notebook. Isla got a gold locket. She opened it in front of me, and inside was a tiny photo of her and Mom, cheek to cheek. I remember holding that notebook and telling myself it was better. More thoughtful. More me. But I'd be lying if I said it didn't sting. Still, I tried. I celebrated her wins, clapped for her solos, listened to her heartbreaks like a priest in a confessional. And when I finally fell in love, my first real love, Isla flirted with him just to see if he'd bite. He did, and she called it a test. Mom called it immaturity. I called it betrayal, but only to myself, because saying it out loud would mean breaking the illusion, the fragile fantasy that this family was fair, that love was unconditional. And maybe deep down, I believed that if I just stayed good enough, Mom would see me. Really see me. But when Mom got sick, things shifted. She became softer with me, held my hand during chemo treatments, whispered things to me when Isla wasn't in the room. I'm sorry I didn't protect you better, she said once, eyes cloudy from morphine. I didn't ask what she meant. Maybe I was afraid of the answer. When she died, I expected grief. But I didn't expect the silence from Isla. The coldness. She barely looked at me at the funeral. She cried loud, sobbing into her sleeves like a scene from theater, but never once held my hand. And when the will was read, and everything was to be split equally between my daughters, I saw the flicker in Isla's eyes. Not surprise. Something darker. Entitlement, maybe. As if she'd been promised more. As if my half was theft. That's when I began to wonder, what if she'd been promised more? What if Mom knew something I didn't? Something Isla couldn't forgive her for? Didn't ask. Not yet. I just packed up the dishes and photos, wrote polite emails to the estate lawyer, and told myself that closure was a myth. Until the box. Until Isla's words. Charity case. What did that even mean? It sounded rehearsed, like something she'd said in her head 1,000 times before it reached her tongue. I looked at her then, really looked at her, and saw something I'd never seen before. Fear, not of me, but of what I might find inside that box. I didn't open it in front of her. Isla stood there like a guard dog, arms crossed, eyes glittering, breathing like she'd just run a mile. And me? I just placed the box back on the table. I'm not doing this with you, I said quietly. She smirked like she'd won something. You never do anything. That's your whole brand, Ava. Always passive, always quiet. No wonder she pitied you. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Because in that moment, I realized something chilling. Isla wasn't trying to hurt me. She was trying to scare me. Scare me from opening the box, from seeing whatever truth she'd buried beneath years of dominance and deflection. So, I waited until she left, slammed the door, tires screeching down the drive. Then I opened it. The ribbon cracked in my fingers. The paper peeled back with a sound like dried leaves. Inside was a wooden box, smaller, polished. A letter on top. Handwritten, folded carefully. And beneath that, documents, photos, a key. I reach for the letter first. My name in her familiar slant, Ava. My brave girl. If you're reading this, I'm gone. And I imagine Isla's already made things difficult. But you need to know the truth, even if it shakes you. I didn't give birth to you. You came to me when you were 2 months old. You were left on the steps of the church, with nothing but a name scribbled on a formula tin, and a note that read, "Please love her." I can't. And I did, Ava. I did. You were the calm to Isla's storms, the quiet reminder that love doesn't need drama to be real. I raised you as mine. Not out of charity, but out of choice. And if you're wondering why I never told you, it's because I didn't want you to feel different. But Isla always knew. I told her when you were 7. She overheard the neighbors whispering. I thought it was better she hear it from me. I see now that was a mistake. She never forgave me for giving you half of everything. But Ava, blood does not define family, and you are mine. Love, Mom. I read it twice, 3 times. My hands shook, but not from anger, from clarity. So many moments suddenly reframed, the way Isla's resentment always flared when I succeeded. The way Mom defended her cruelty like it was guilt. The time Isla snapped at me in college. You wouldn't even be here if it weren't for her guilt. I thought she meant Mom's guilt over Dad leaving. But no, she meant me, my existence. Sifted through the box. A photo of me as a baby, wrapped in a blanket with a church behind me. A faded note, the ink bleeding. Her name is Ava. Please, give her a good life. And the key. To a safety deposit box, I guessed. Maybe more documents. Maybe closure. Maybe something Isla desperately didn't want me to find. My whole life had been a soft blur of silence and guessing. But now I had something Isla couldn't steal. Proof. I didn't call first. I showed up at Isla's apartment the next morning, the letter in my coat pocket, the key pressed tight in my palm. She opened the door in silk pajamas, holding a coffee mug that said, "Boss Babe." "Of course. Ava?" she said, squinting. "Seriously? I told you we're done talking about—" "I opened it," I said. She stilled. "I know," I added. "Everything." A pause, a flicker. Then the mask slid back on. She rolled her eyes. "God, so what? You finally figured it out. Good for you. Want a medal?" "I want the truth. You got the truth." She leaned against the doorframe, smug. "You're not my real sister. You never were." Mom felt bad, so she brought home a stray and raised it like one of us. She said stray like it was an insult, like I was a dog she barely tolerated. But she didn't just raise me, I said, my voice shaking but steady. She loved me, she chose me, and she left me half. Isla laughed, a bitter, dry thing. She left you half because she was guilty, Ava. You were her lifelong apology. Her words tried to cut, but they didn't land the same anymore. Not after reading that letter. Not after realizing she'd been lying to me for decades. "You knew," I said. "Since we were kids." She shrugged. "I was 7. You were the cute new toy. Everyone kept saying how special you were. And suddenly I was just the loud one, the difficult one. I saw how she looked at you, like you were a miracle. She looked at both of us with love. She raised you," Isla snapped. "But I'm the one who came from her body, her blood, and you." She leaned in, venom sharpening her tone. "You're just a reminder she wasn't enough. That she needed someone else to fill the space Dad left behind." I stared at her. This wasn't rage. It wasn't even jealousy. It was insecurity, raw and festering, buried under years of performative confidence. "I didn't take anything from you," I said softly. "You just never wanted to share." She scoffed. "I shared everything, my room, my mother, my life." I held up the key. Her eyes flicked to it, just for a second. But it was enough. "What's in the deposit box, Isla?" I asked. "What are you afraid I'll find?" "Nothing," she said too quickly. "Just more of her martyr crap. More guilt letters. Who cares?" "You care. Enough to hide it. Enough to call me a charity case just to scare me away." Her jaw clenched. For the first time, she looked cornered. "You know," I continued, "you could have had a sister, a real one. Not by blood, but by choice. But you never wanted that. You just wanted to win." She looked like she might cry, but she didn't. "Because Isla doesn't cry unless someone's watching." "Get out," she said. I nodded. But just before I turned to leave, I said one last thing. "She didn't raise me out of guilt, Isla. She raised me out of love." That's something you'll never rewrite, no matter how many lies you tell yourself. And with that, I walked away. For the first time in my life, I walked away from Isla. Without guilt. The bank was cold, sterile, the kind of place where secrets wait behind brushed steel and silence. The manager took one look at the key and led me to a back room, a narrow hallway, a series of clicks. Then a vault door opened with a hiss, and I was handed a small safety deposit box. My hands trembled as I opened it, not with fear, with gravity. Inside were 3 things. Another letter from Mom, this one dated nearly a decade ago, a folder labeled Legal Documents, Ava, and tucked at the bottom, a check, uncashed, 6 figures, my name on it. I opened the letter first. Ava, if Isla ever finds this, she will say it's manipulation. She'll twist it until it breaks. But this is not for her. This is for you. I never told you about the trust I set up in your name. It's yours to use when you're ready. Not because you need rescuing, but because I want you to have freedom. You've spent too much of your life shrinking. Ava, let this be the beginning of your expansion. With all the love I had. Mom. I couldn't breathe for a moment. The folder held adoption records, signed papers, the church's letter, proof that I wasn't stolen. I was saved. And Isla knew. She'd known everything. And for years, she'd spun a web of coldness and cruelty to keep me blind to it. It wasn't just jealousy. It was control. If I never knew who I really was, where I came from, then she could keep rewriting the narrative that I was less. That I was lucky just to be allowed in the room. But now I held the truth. And for the first time, I didn't want to scream it. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted distance. Silence. The kind that heals, not punishes. So, I packed up my apartment, sent the estate lawyer my forwarding address, and wrote Isla one final message. No tears. No rage, just this. I'm not fighting you. You can have the house. You can tell whoever you want that I left because I couldn't handle the truth. But you and I both know, the truth didn't break me. It freed me. Goodbye. Then I blocked her, deleted her number, changed mine, and I moved, far from the town that raised me in echoes. Somewhere quiet, where the only voice that mattered was finally my own. People ask me why I left so suddenly, why I didn't claim what I was entitled to, and I just smile. Because what I claimed was far greater. Peace. Let Isla keep the house, the pitying friends, the stories she's rehearsed 1,000 times. I have the truth. I have the letter. I have the key to a life that is no longer built on borrowed guilt. She kept talking, but I walked into silence. And it was beautiful. People think betrayal always comes with knives and shouting. But sometimes it's handed to you in silence, in missed birthdays, half-truths, in the way someone looks through you like you've never belonged. For years, I mistook Isla's cruelty as my burden to bear. I called it sibling rivalry. I called it family. But the truth? Some wounds don't come from strangers. They come from people who sat beside you at dinner, who wore the same Halloween costumes, who called you sister with a smile that never reached their eyes. I wasn't her blood, but I was her mirror. And maybe that's what she hated most. That I reflected the parts of Mom she couldn't control. She needed me to be beneath her, grateful, dependent, small. But I am done being small. I am my mother's choice, her whisper in the dark, her second chance at softness. And maybe that's enough. Maybe I don't need Isla to love me, or accept me, or even remember me kindly. Because healing doesn't always end with confrontation. Sometimes it ends when you finally stop asking for a seat at a table you were never welcome at in the first place, and build your own, with light, with peace, with the kind of love that doesn't ask you to shrink to fit it. She called me a charity case, but I was never the one begging. I was always the gift. She just never knew how to open me, and now I belong to myself.